The date is Monday, January 5th, 2026. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you may be listening to this broadcast, this message, this declaration, proclamation, audio, video recording, episode, and by now you know it is whatever you want to call it. Call it what you want to call it. Say what you want to say about it. Love it, hate it, despise it, embrace it. Just make sure you do it. While free speech is still available. While you can still speak your mind, while you can still call a king a tyrant, call a president a king, call him whatever you want, while you still have a voice that can speak truth without hindrance, without being jailed, although they may try, without dire consequence, in the land of the free and the home of the cowardly, where fake patriots are abound and constitutionalists have become liberals to the conservative right Republican group who does not go along, those who will not go along with the hypocrisy, those who will not go along with the MAGA agenda, who stand on neither side of Republican nor Democrat, but stand on the side of the Constitution. Those that stand on the side with the law of the land. Those that are not afraid to talk about the truth of the political spectrum, or you could call it scheme. Those who have seen past the American Dream Theater, and because they have seen past it, they can never go back to the illusion that is the American dream. Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, about 3:30 a.m., the dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, was captured through the operations of the Special Forces of the United States, the Delta Force, and other parties with it captured Nicolas Maduro and his wife, and they are currently in New York City awaiting trial. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, gave a press conference in Mar-a-Lago declaring, quote, "We will run Venezuela." End quote. The most important takeaways of what the president said was that immediately the United States and the oil companies of the United States would seek to go to Venezuela and search out their plan of attack on the $300 billion in oil reserves there, the most in the world, ladies and gentlemen. This is what he must have meant when he said, "Drill, baby, drill," because if you look at the facts on the drilling campaign in the United States, it is not very relevant, nor has it been, since that's what he promised the people. But instead, we have moved in on Venezuela. And personnel like Marco Rubio and others will be the regime for now in Venezuela. This all being done without congressional authority through Congress. A very calculated move. Say what you want to say about it. Ladies and gentlemen, all this being done under the guise of Nicolas Maduro being a narco-terrorist. And the false claims that all this fentanyl is being run from Venezuela into the United States. When the facts, ladies and gentlemen, the facts are 70% of the fentanyl coming in the United States is coming in through Mexico, not Venezuela. Not from Venezuela. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone in on false pretenses under the guise of these false pretenses because of our own greed and our own thirst for resources. It's all about the oil, ladies and gentlemen. It came out of your president's mouth. It's not about America first. It's about the oil companies first. It's about the banksters being first. It's about removing an uncooperative regime and establishing our own puppet regime. We have been doing these acts. We have been doing these things for years and years and years and years. We have been promised no more war, but we always get war. And in the last broadcast, I talked about they speak the virtues of peace, but the truth is perpetual war. And in George Orwell's 1984, it was war is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. America is literally living in an Orwellian 1984 society. We're being surveilled more than we could ever know. They've openly told us these things, and we are marching towards that complete state where they will have you believing that your freedom is slavery. That hypocrite Donald Trump went after Nicolas Maduro and off the premise of him being a narco-terrorist, when earlier in 2025, in December of 2025, he pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez of Honduras, the president of Honduras, who is responsible for over 400 tons of cocaine, narco-terrorism. So right there, ladies and gentlemen, tells you that this is not about drugs. It has nothing to do about it. In the prior broadcast, that was delivered on the 12th day of December 2025 episode of HOTT, The Unspoken Truth is Perpetual War, we talked about George Bush and the CIA were the co-conspirators in running the drugs into America from Panama. It's all about money. It's all about deception. It's all about an evil eye. An evil eye is what the Bible calls it. Greed, gain, and yes, conquest. Conquest. You heard the president talking about like he was giving a WCW promo. I don't know if any of you in the past used to watch World Championship Wrestling. There was a wrestler named Goldberg, and his little slogan was, "Who's next?" Well, that's what Donald Trump got up there and gave pretty much a "Who's next" promo. He mentioned Colombia. He mentioned Cuba. He's mentioned in the past Greenland and even Canada. Back on July 18th of 2024, which is over a year ago, on the broadcast, the episode of HOTT, Unified Conquest, we talked about how in Nazi Germany, when Hitler came into power, he spoke of a lot of the things that Donald Trump has spoken about. His values and morals all align the same way as Donald Trump's. And I read you 2 speeches in that broadcast. The one of his beginning of power, his coming into power, and his going out of power, which led to the downfall of the German people and the National Socialist Party. All you nationalists out there, all you nationalists marching your way towards socialism, better take heed to what is being spoken. Better take heed to what these people are saying. Better take heed to the things coming out of their mouth. Especially you people out there who claim to be Christians. You better take heed to what these... You better take a pad and paper and a pencil and pay attention to what these people say. Because what I saw on Saturday the 3rd of January 2026 was the President of the United States get up there talking about conquest, talking about the entire he gave away the entire reason of why we went there, which was oil. It's the same thing of why we went into Iraq. It's the same thing of why we went into Afghanistan. And no, we didn't go into Afghanistan for oil. However, we did go in there for the drugs, and we did go in there for resources, minerals and other things. And yes, Osama bin Laden, his family, had close ties to the Saudis and was highly involved in the oil industry and did backhanded deals with George Bush, who put us into that war. So don't tell me for 1 second that Osama bin Laden wasn't a CIA plant and just a name and a face to go to war with Afghanistan. And Saddam Hussein, who was accused of the very things Nicolas Maduro's being accused of, in like manner. He's being accused of being a narco-terrorist. Saddam Hussein was accused of having weapons of mass destruction. The fact of the matter is these people didn't want to play ball with the petrodollar. The fact of the matter is they didn't want to play ball with the oil companies. The fact of the matter is they didn't want to abide in the orders of the United States of America. That's the facts, ladies and gentlemen. And when people don't cooperate, they get removed. When people don't want to cooperate with the Rothschild banking dynasty, with the Zionist Rothschild banking dynasty, when they don't want to cooperate with the Roman Catholic papacy, and the interests of the United States, and deal with the petrodollar, They get removed. They get dealt with swiftly. And look what happened on 9/11/2001. They had to create a massive false flag. They had to kill thousands of people to get rich. And not you and I, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, not you and I, but the big businesses, the corporations, and the banksters got rich. Not you and I. None of these moves are America first. None of these moves have anything to do with your financial security, with your safety. None of it. You're just there. You are cattle to these people. You're just there. Just be a good American. Just be a good little American. That's who you are to these people. And yet, you'll still support them. And yet, you'll still praise them. And yet, you'll still cheer them on like a bloodthirsty, greedy hypocrite. Hypocrite. Donald Trump's a hypocrite. He pardoned a man. He just pardoned a man dealing in narco-terrorism to go capture another narco-terrorist. He's a hypocrite. And you people, you care not to investigate anything out there. I believe a lot of listeners that come back and listen to these broadcasts, I believe you do your diligence. But there's some people out there that come across these videos, I know. You remain ignorant. You stay with your head in the sand. And it's to your shame. You justify the wicked for reward, and you take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. And shame on you. Shame on you who support these campaigns of terror, fear, and invisible enemies. These enemies are drawn up out of thin air. These factions, like Hamas and ISIS and what was the other one? Al-Qaeda. All these factions are created by your own government, are funded by your government, trained by your government, carry out these plans of attack, and then they're turned on. All they are is a boogie. All they are is somebody to point at, ladies and gentlemen. So these people that are pulling the strings and calling the shots behind the scenes can get the outcome that they want. It's a lose-lose. It's a win-win situation for them because they play both sides. Like I said, 70% of the fentanyl that these people talked about and put on Maduro, that comes in from Mexico, not Venezuela. Who exactly have they been blowing up in the ocean? All you have is their side of the narrative. You don't have any other side. You just got to blindly trust them. And there's nothing to trust at this point if you have been paying attention. You have been lied to. And now, if there's any type of prosperity that comes from this, it's all wicked. because we literally just muscled our way into a country and we're just going to straight up take their oil from them. That's basically what they might as well have told you, because that's exactly what they are doing. There's nothing righteous about this. And yet you still support the military. You'll still support these things. It's unified conquest. He's letting you know exactly what he's been saying it over and over and over again in his entire campaign. I don't know why anybody would be surprised by any of it. During that time of unified conquest in Germany, Hitler managed in his blitzkriegs to take over Poland, Denmark, Norway, the lower countries, France, Yugoslavia, Greece, Austria, Czechoslovakia. That's a lot of countries. Sound familiar? We've got to keep you safe. And that's how they do it. It's always through terror and fear that they bring about these things, that they make these moves. That's where they justify them, as they're protecting you. They're protecting your interests. They're not protecting your interests. They're protecting their interests. They have to get you to go along with it, to agree with it. And they lie and they manipulate. And they get you to agree. It's just like the masters of deception throughout time. I can mention a few. Jim Jones in Jonestown, who got 900 people to kill themselves. David Koresh. It's the same type of master manipulation, but it's at a much, much larger scale, ladies and gentlemen. Marshall Applewhite of Heaven's Gate Cult. Those are small scale compared to the world stage, where there's many David Koreshes walking around in government. There's many Jim Joneses walking around in government. There's many Marshall Applewhites walking around in government. Deceiving and manipulating, because the ends justifies the means. They don't care. They'll send your sons and daughters to war to die for their gains. It's got nothing to do with you. You're just a pawn in the game, ladies and gentlemen. That's why it's imperative you wake up and start speaking out against these people and start disagreeing with them and start calling them out for what they are. Stop giving willful allegiance to these liars and deceivers. Stop going along with these oil agendas, these oil wars. Stop going along with Zionism. AIPAC, the ADL. The United States gives $3 billion every year to Israel. While you suffer as a taxpayer. And you'll still support it. We fund the munitions and the bombs that kill Palestinians. Yet you'll still support it. And as Pete Hegseth said, the new model of the Department of War is F around and find out. We are on dangerous waters as a country. We are in dangerous waters as a country. And you can see clear as day, just as I've been saying, back when I started doing these broadcast episodes of HOTT, you can see the agenda coming into full view, ladies and gentlemen. He's following it right out of the playbook. He's following it right out of the same playbook that has been played before. Will you wake up and see it? Will you come to grips with this? Will you see it for what it is, or will you continue to support these unconstitutional criminals? One thing I have noticed in the whole paradigm of left and right is that while the Democratic Party, so-called, is more outwardly socialist, the Republican Party is just a covert socialist party, is all it is. You have the outwardly socialist, and then you have the covert. The overt and the covert of the Republican Party. I'm going to read again from the pages of The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. I highly recommend you pick this book up. It is called the chapter is called The Rothschild Formula, on page 230. Starting in page 229. It reads, "Let us imagine a man who is totally pragmatic. He is smarter and more cunning than most men, and in fact holds them in thinly disguised contempt. He may respect the talents of a few, but has little concern over the condition of mankind. He has observed that kings and politicians are always fighting over the something or other, and has concluded that wars are inevitable. He also has learned that wars can be profitable, not only by lending or creating the money to finance them, but from government favoritism in the granting of commercial subsidies or monopolies. He is not capable of such primitive feelings as patriotism, so he is free to participate in the funding of any side in any conflict, limited only by factors of self-interest. If such a man were to survey the world around him, it is not difficult to imagine that he would come to the following conclusions, which would become the prime directives of his career. Are you listening? Number 1. War is the ultimate discipline to any government. If it can successfully meet the challenge of war, it will survive. If it cannot, it will perish. All else is secondary. The sanctity of its laws, the prosperity of its citizens, and the solvency of its treasury will be quickly sacrificed by any government in its own primal act of self-survival. Number 2. All that is necessary, therefore, to ensure that government will maintain or expand its debt is to involve it in war or threat of war. The greater the threat and the more destructive the war, the greater the need of debt. Number 3. To involve a country in war or threat of war, it will be necessary for it to have enemies with credible military might. If such enemies already exist, all the better. If they exist but lack military strength, it will be necessary to provide them the money to build their war machine. If any enemy does not exist at all, then it will be necessary to create one by financing the rise of a hostile regime. Number 4. The ultimate obstacle is a government which declines to finance its wars through debt. Although this seldom happens, when it does, it will be necessary to encourage internal political opposition, insurrection, or revolution to replace that government with one that is more compliant to our will. The assassination of heads of state could play an important role in that process, and I will be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I figured that's what they would do to Nicolas Maduro. If you want my personal opinion, I believe he's made backroom deals, and he's going to so-called go to prison, so-called, if you understand what I'm saying. He's going to disappear like somebody in the witness protection program. No nation can be allowed to remain militarily stronger than its adversaries, for that could lead to peace and a reduction of debt. To accomplish this balance of power, it may be necessary to finance both sides of the conflict, unless one of the combatants is hostile to our interests and therefore must be destroyed. Neither side should be allowed a decisive victory or defeat, while we must always proclaim the virtues of peace. The unspoken truth is perpetual war. Again. What is next for the United States? Well, I believe Donald Trump's already told you what's next for the United States. And it's something I spoke on, like I said, back on July 18th, 2024. It's unified conquest. That's what he's looking to do. I believe that the whole thing with Iran is not over. So, of course, we've been talking about that for a long time. And you out there listening, you've known that for a long time. Iran is in the details. Iran is part of the plan. Because of why? Because of oil. That's why. Because of liquid gold is what I'll call it. It's what they think of it. Why would they take Venezuela the way they did? Because there's liquid gold there. That's why. They want those reserves. What happens to the people of Venezuela? Oh, they're promised a bunch of things. They're promised the world just like you and I are promised the world from these people. And manipulated. And kept down by the boot of tyranny. By the boot of cunning craftiness and deception. All you can do as an American citizen is continue to speak on these things and not be herded into the slaughterhouse when they make their move here to shut down freedom for good. I do believe that I'll be alive to see that. I'll be alive when that day comes, when freedom is completely stripped away in this land. I do believe I'll be alive for it. I believe I'll live to see that day. Because the United States is one crisis away from that taking place. From freedom being redefined as whatever they say it is. We are so arrogant. We are so pompous. We are so proud in this country. And we cannot see history repeating itself. We cannot see the same political scheme that's written right down here in this book I just read from. We cannot see it over and over and over again being played out before us. Because they have consumed your mind with things that do not matter. They get you to cheer on bloodthirsty acts of genocide and side with genocide with the synagogue of Satan that say they are Jews and are not in Israel there. And of course, when I say that, I'm talking about the people in power. The people in power, the corrupt, are the synagogue of Satan. It's the same way in the Vatican. It's the same way in England. And it's the same way in the United States of America. Those four places are the most powerful in the world. The finance comes from England. The War Department is the United States of America. The church is the Catholic Church, along with the Kabbalistic Zionist Jews, the British Israelites, quote unquote. You better wake up. I have quite a few things planned in the coming days. More episodes to come. And this is a fitting 50th episode of HOTT. The intention of this broadcast and the intention of these broadcasts is to keep you updated, is to keep you looking in the right directions. My hope is that you would be doing your own due diligence. You would be looking into these matters as well. You would be paying attention. But ultimately, my hope is that you would get right with God, because you can know these things. You can know these things. You can understand these things in great detail about the secret societies, the mystery schools. You can know these things about Mystery Babylon. And Zionism. You can know all these things. But you can be lost. And my hope for those that would listen to this broadcast, that do listen to these broadcasts, is that they would be saved. Just as Paul did in Romans chapter number 10. He says, "Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved." Well, my My heart and my desire and my prayer to God is that America might be saved. Is that all would be saved, as God says, and come to a knowledge of the truth. You need to know the truth. You first and foremost need to know Jesus Christ and need to be born again. And you need to do His will and preach His word. But secondly, you must know the signs of the times. Hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. And the only way you're going to discern the signs of the times is if you watch. Is if you know what's going on around you when it comes to the geopolitical, financial stage. Do not be deceived out there at what's coming. Do not side with wickedness. Do not side with unjust wars. Do not side with unjust moves from these liars and traitors on screen. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. I will recompense. And with that being said, as always, I do wish you well. I do wish you well. I wish you well in 2026. It's just getting started. And just as it's just getting started, I believe this unified conquest is just getting started. So, until next time, until next time.